Taking care of Kate is your job.
Huh? I'll do it, but shouldn't you help out too?
You are both girls, so you should be the one to do it. I'm busy with work and don't have the time.
But I think Kate will feel lonely. I am Hannah, a 33-year-old working mother. I lead a busy life, juggling work and home responsibilities every day. My husband Tony and I first met at the company we both worked for, where he was my supervisor. Our relationship developed unexpectedly, and we got married 3 years ago. He's actually divorced and has a child named Kate, who is currently in her final year of elementary school. I knew about her before our marriage, and I made sure to get her approval before we got married, gradually building our relationship. At first, I worried about whether she would like me and if I could handle being a stepmother to an elementary schooler. But Kate quickly became attached to me. I don't know the details of how Tony gained custody, but I think there must have been some issue between him and his ex-wife. I felt that Kate was craving a mother figure. Since Tony didn't like to talk about it, I didn't ask him about it either. But I vowed to my best not to make her feel lonely and went ahead with the marriage. After getting married, I continued to work while also taking care of Kate. I switched to a part-time schedule to avoid making her feel lonely, helping her with homework and providing advice for her adolescent issues. Although I'm still far from being a true mother figure, Kate and I have deepened our bond as sisters. However, my relationship with Tony gradually grew cold. After our marriage, he didn't take care of Kate at all, and our life together wasn't what I had imagined. He never cooked or even talked to her. So I asked her how they managed before I came into the picture. She said she did most of the housework, and when Tony couldn't cook, he would leave money on the table for her to buy food from the convenience store. I was surprised because I thought he took good care of her based on what he told me before we got married. I thought maybe this is just how single fathers are, and I decided to do my best to take care of Kate as a mother figure without making her feel deprived. But Tony never showed any appreciation for my efforts, and he left all of Kate's care to me while he became increasingly busy with work, staying out late and going on business trips. Our conversations dwindled, and now, 3 years later, we barely talk at all. Amidst all of this, Kate's elementary school graduation is approaching. I told Tony about the graduation ceremony weeks in advance, but at the last minute, he announced he had a business trip scheduled for that day.
I'll be on a business trip, so gotta go by yourself.
I was surprised and replied, "A business trip? It's Kate's graduation. It's so important. Can you ask someone to cover for you?" But he decided to go on the trip, saying it is for work. The next day, I told Kate about this, and she replied with a resigned okay. On the day of the graduation ceremony, I went alone. My relationship with Kate was still short at 3 years, but I was so moved that my eyes turned red by the end of the ceremony. She teased me about it, and we laughed together on our way home. That night, since Tony wasn't coming back from his trip, I made Kate's favorite fried chicken, and we spent a relaxing evening together. At around 10 p.m., just as I was thinking about going to bed, I received a call from an unknown number. "Hello?" When I answered, it turned out to be a call from a hospital. "Your husband and his companion have been in a serious car accident. Can you come to the hospital right away?" My mind went blank in an instant. I frantically asked for the hospital's location, and they said Tony, who was supposed to be on a business trip in San Francisco, was in the hospital in Napa. Confused, but knowing that it was within taxi distance, I left Katie with my in-laws and headed for the hospital. During the taxi ride, my mind raced with questions. Why was he in Napa? Who was the companion? How severe was the injuries? Upon arriving at the hospital, I saw Tony lying in a bed in the intensive care unit, and in the next bed, the receptionist from our company whom I recognized. In an instant, I understood the situation. He had been having an affair. I had never suspected him of cheating before, so I was stunned by the shock. There was no other explanation for the situation. He had lied to me about the business trip and actually was on a getaway with his lover. All his previous claims about working late and going on business trips were probably lies. Since both Tony and the woman were unconscious, I decided to wait until they woke up and could talk. It took about a week for their unconsciousness to return, and during that time, the doctor informed me that Tony had become hemiplegic due to the after effects of the accident, and the woman had sustained a large scar on her face. While both of them were seriously injured, I felt no sympathy. I thought this was the price they had to pay for betraying me. A few more weeks passed, and they were finally moved to a general ward where I could have a proper conversation with them. I decided to confront Tony about the affair. Were you having an affair? That woman is the receptionist from our company, right? To my surprise, he denied it.
No, it's not like that.
I was expecting him to admit to the affair and apologize, so his reaction was startling. Wait, then why were you in Napa? You said you were going on a business trip to San Francisco, he replied.
Did I? I don't remember. I must have said so by mistake, I guess.
Of course. I couldn't accept the explanation. So why were you with the receptionist? There was no need to bring her on a business trip. Right, he smoothly replied, as if he had prepared an excuse.
It was just a coincidence. When I went to Napa for a trip, she happened to be there too, so we decided to have dinner together. Then the taxi we were in on the way back got into an accident.
His explanation was quite far-fetched. However, I had no evidence to call it a lie, nor did I have any proof that he was cheating. No matter how much I pressed him about the affair, he refused to admit it, and instead seemed to be doubling down on his denial. I was dumbfounded. He must know that his excuse is hard to believe. However, he won't admit to anything unless there is evidence. Frustrated, I told him, "If you won't tell me the truth, I can't continue our marriage." I thought I would consider it if you admitted and apologized. I told him that I was prepared for a divorce. Then his face turned angry.
You are a heartless woman. Or are you planning to abandon your husband now that he is paralyzed?
He attacked me as if I were a bad guy. I couldn't say anything and just stood there. He continued,
"I'll tell everyone at work. They will all look down on you when they find out what a terrible person you are."
It seemed like he was threatening me, and I thought that if I insisted on a divorce now, it would put me at a disadvantage. So I decided to hold off the divorce for the time being. I could gather evidence of his affair and then confront him with it. Since I no longer had any love for him, I decided to continue our marriage as a preparation period to secure favorable divorce terms.
All right, you really weren't cheating. I believe you.
He smirked and said,
"You're my wife, so take care of me for the rest of your life."
I shuddered at his smug expression. I had to gather evidence as soon as possible and finalize the divorce, or I would be forced to take care of this man for the rest of my life. With these thoughts, I brought him home after he was discharged from the hospital, and our life of reluctantly providing care began. He is still in rehabilitation, so he is considered on a leave of absence. Our company has good welfare benefits, so they are letting him take a leave of absence without firing him, allowing him to return once he's recovered. On the other hand, the woman he was with had some scars on her face, but no lasting after effects, and she has already been discharged from the hospital and returned to work. She is working as if nothing had happened regarding her alleged affair with him. I see her every day when I go to the office, and she greets me with a cheerful smile without showing any remorse. Both of them continue to deny the affair and maintain that their meeting was a coincidence, and they just happened to be in the accident together. When I see her enjoying herself without any care, anger wells up inside me, but I hold it in. Once I gather evidence, I can divorce him and hold her accountable as well. Until then, I have no choice but to endure. Although I have decided to divorce him, I am worried about Kate. Her father, Tony, is now paralyzed on one side of his body. He can't take a bath or go to the toilet without assistance. It's difficult for him to cook and do laundry on his own since he is basically living in a wheelchair. If I divorce him, Kate will have to take care of him. I can't let my precious daughter do that. To prevent that, I decided to ask my in-laws to help with caregiving as soon as possible. I was hesitant to ask the elderly couple to take care of Tony, but they love him dearly and were willing to help. I thought that with their help, Kate's burden would be significantly reduced. Although they knew the circumstances behind Tony's severe injury, they believed his explanation and thought that he had no relationship with the woman and that it was just a business trip. Naturally, they didn't express gratitude for my caregiving and instead complained about how I was doing it wrong. I was exhausted every day from work, caregiving, and taking care of Kate. This lifestyle continued for half a year. During that time, I had been gathering evidence of Tony's affair, but the two of them were cautious and didn't leave any traces. Even when I secretly checked his phone, there were no conversations left. None of his colleagues at work knew about their affair, and I was at a loss. Just when I began to think that maybe he wasn't having an affair after all, I received a call from a certain person. After hearing that person's story, the situation changed dramatically. From there, his lies unraveled one after another. After gathering all the evidence, I decided to have a talk with Tony and my in-laws. I have something to discuss, Tony. I'd like your parents to listen as well. When I started the conversation, he looked annoyed and said, "What? I'm not feeling well, so I'd like to finish this quickly. It's so inconvenient with this body. Your caregiving isn't great either." He never forgot to make sarcastic comments like that to me. But today, I didn't care about such remarks. "Please, divorce me," I said, thrusting the divorce papers at him. He laughed and said, "As I told you, if you divorce me now, you'll be the worst wife who abandoned her paralyzed husband. Are you okay with having that label? Everyone at work will despise you." He spat out that line as if he thought it would make me change my mind. But things wouldn't go as he said. I had invited a certain person for this day. "Mandy, please come in." The person who entered the living room was his ex-wife, Mandy. She was the one who had contacted me a few weeks before. Apparently, she had asked Kate for my contact information and had reached out to me to share some crucial information. She told me everything. "It seems you were cheating on her with that woman." even while you were married to her. You've been continuing the relationship, haven't you? I said. And his face, as well as his parents, turned pale, and they fell silent. What I heard from Mandy was that Tony had cheated on her with that woman, even during his previous marriage. Mandy confronted him and pushed for divorce, but he refused. She wanted to divorce him but couldn't, and he even began to mentally abuse her, causing her mental health to deteriorate. While she was recuperating at her parents' house, he filed for divorce on his own and took custody of Kate, citing Mandy's mental state. Mandy had been begging Tony to return Kate to her, but he thought being a single father would make him more attractive, so he treated her like an accessory and refused to let her go. And I was deceived by him and ended up marrying him. Of course, his relationship with that woman continued even after our marriage, and I was living a married life without knowing anything. Mandy's mental state improved after the divorce, and she now lives a normal life without any issues. She had been investigating his downfall to get Kate back from him. She had several photos proving his ongoing relationship with that receptionist and gave them to me. I got hold of those photos as evidence, so I decided to confront him about the divorce today. These photos are the evidence. Mandy took them. At this, he angrily turned red and snapped at Mandy.
Are you meddling? Are you stalking me? Do you still have feelings for me? You're disgusting.
She calmly replied. I just want Kate back. You're too busy playing with this woman and not taking care of Kate at all. Please return her to me quickly. But he refused, saying,
I won't let her go. Having her around raises my reputation at work and makes me more attractive to women.
I asked him, then why did you marry me? If you want to be popular with women, you don't need to get married. He then spewed out the most despicable words.
You are a housekeeper. I just wanted you to do housework and take care of Kate. That way, I'm free, and I can play with her too. She doesn't like kids, so she won't play with me if I have a child.
I was speechless at his utterly disgusting thoughts, as I didn't think he could be such a low person. Mandy and I looked at him with contempt, and his parents anxiously said,
Don't blame Tony. He's currently half paralyzed. It's terrible to gang up on him.
When his mother said this, Mandy looked at her coldly and said, You knew about his affairs too. You defended him even though you knew. You are also responsible for driving me to the edge mentally. In fact, his parents knew about his infidelity. They had been protecting him while keeping silent about his affair with the same woman during both Mandy's and my marriages. I have heard this from Mandy, so I called them here today. After talking up to that point, I pushed the divorce papers at Tony again. You'll divorce me, right? You were the one who cheated, and you married me intending to use me. I'll make you pay a lot of consolation money. He hung his head and didn't say anything. There is no way he can deny it with the photos as evidence. I made him sign the divorce papers and left his parents' house with Mandy. He and his parents reluctantly agreed to the divorce and tried to reconcile us, but I had no intention of doing so. On our way out, I told his parents, Please take care of your precious son for the rest of your lives. They looked at me with despair, but it was their own doing. I felt relieved after saying what I wanted to say. After that, Mandy was able to regain custody of Kate through the proper legal procedures. I am grateful that Kate gave Mandy my contact information at that time. And even now, I occasionally maintain a friendly relationship with Kate as a neighborly older sister figure. Mandy looks happy and lively now that she has Kate back in her life. On the other hand, my divorce with Tony was finalized. I was able to claim and receive a lump sum payment for alimony for both him and his mistress. It was revealed to his company that he had been having an affair, which led to the dismissal of the woman. Tony, who had been on leave at the time, had falsely claimed to be on a business trip while going on a vacation with the female employee, which led him to being forced to resign voluntarily, eventually leaving his job. I have continued work at the same company ever since. My colleagues have all sympathized with me and encouraged me. Having had enough of men for now, I plan to focus on my work for a while. Next time, I want to work on improving myself so that I can meet a sincere man.